Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, where we proudly provide world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is Creating a World of Possibilities. We want to say thank you and welcome to all of our friends across the world on social media and all of our friends on E360 TV and Amazon Fire. It's wonderful to have you with us today. Today, we have an incredible guest who is joining us from Canada, and we are going to be talking a little bit about her journey. Her name is Marci WARHAFT, and she is one of the top health coaches. She's also an expert when it comes to body image and self-esteem and confidence. She's also an author and an advocate. I'm not going to say the name of her book just yet. I'm going to bring her out because I think it's absolutely incredible, and the demand is so high. The books have flown off the shelves, so you'll be able to find out where you can purchase her book and learn more about how to contact her in just a moment. Marci, come on out. Let's have a conversation.
Hello. I'm so happy to be here.
It's so nice to have you with us today. And by the way, I love your artwork on your body. Absolutely beautiful. So today we're going to be talking about your book, and I have the title here, The Good Stripper, a Soccer Mom's Memoir of Lies, Loss, and Lap Dances. Fabulous title, by the way.
Thanks. I never would have thought in a million years it would be for my story, but there you go.
Well, we spoke a little bit backstage, and I'd asked you specifically, I mentioned I took some pole dancing lessons and it was really tough. And you shared something that was really interesting, and the dancing was just one part of your journey, and that your journey is so much bigger than that. And what I'd really like to just put out into the world right now, there are people out there who are stripping for a living and they are dancing, and they have, everyone has the right to do what they're doing, right? We respect everybody for what they're doing. So we're in no way bashing anyone or anyone's profession. So thank you so much for coming here and being so open to sharing your story. So what was the impetus for you writing the book? And then we'll get into the journey.
Okay. And I just want to, for a second, though, go back to what you're saying, because that's something that's so important to me. And I'm so glad you said that, because when I tell my story and I explain how the dancing was a small part of it, I don't say it to protect myself and say, oh, just want you to know I didn't do that for long, as if there's a shame with that. It's not. I have the utmost respect for people doing whatever they need to do or choose to do. The only reason I clarify that is because I don't want to misrepresent myself as being an expert in something that I'm not an expert in. I know my story and I know my journey. And so I don't want to speak for other people. So it's out of respect for other dancers that I clarify how it was a significant part of my journey, but it wasn't long, it's in duration, let's say, but it was a small part of a double life that I did lead for several years. Why I wrote the book? Good question. You know, I spent a lot of time thinking I couldn't or I shouldn't. There were a lot of people that hoped I wouldn't, but I was turning 50 actually, and I had lived a life with a lot of secrets, and you know, I had wrapped those secrets in shame and hid them away, hoping they'd never come out. And that's a terrible way to live, because I judged myself so harshly on things that I'd done in the past. And, you know, I dedicate the book to anyone who may be struggling to forgive themselves for mistakes they made when they were just doing their best to survive. And I got to a point where I thought, there's more years behind me than ahead of me. And do I want to spend the rest of my life trying to hide parts of me and feeling ashamed of certain parts of me when I meet new people? I always would think like, do I have to tell them everything? When do I tell them? And what are they going to think? And what if my kids find out? And what if other people find? And to live in fear like that is a terrible way to live. And I felt like I was also not giving people the opportunity to learn all about me and to know me because I was hiding so much of it. And I just, again, I think I was turning 50 and was like, that's it. I'm not hiding anymore. Whatever happens, happens. And I had started to forgive myself and look at things in my past differently. And I was just ready. Plus, I had a couple of friends who knew parts of my story. Nobody knew all of it, but they knew parts, and they saw my story from a different perspective than I did. I saw how many times I had fallen down. They saw how many times I'd picked myself up, and they felt that that would really help other people. And I thought, no, because I've made so many mistakes, and they weren't seeing the failures, they were seeing the successes. And I thought, okay, it's time for me to set myself free. And if I could help somebody else, that's like a huge bonus. So I just thought I'm going to go for it, and I did.
I love that. There's so much that you just shared there that I want to touch on. And so first of all, people saw you in a different way than you even saw yourself. And I think that's so profound because I know that it happens to me all the time as well. And people say, oh, you really inspire me. I'm like, I did. So people look at us in a different way and we don't see ourselves that way. Do you think that that has to do with wisdom and getting older in life? Or do you think it's unrelated?
I think it can be. I think for a lot of us, when we've been through a lot and we've accumulated a lot of experiences, we're able to look back and see how far we've come. So I think age does play a part in that. And again, experiences. People always say, oh, you're not supposed to look back. You're only supposed to look forward. And I'm like, you're not supposed to live in the past. But I think it's important sometimes to look back and see how far you've come, because we do get nearsighted and we don't see, like sometimes we'll still see how much further we have to go. And we look back and go, wait a minute, I've come so far. So I think it's important, but I think it's still a struggle for a lot of people. I think a lot of people still hold on to past regrets. And so I think for some of us, there's some kind of switch that happens when we realize, no, I'm not worrying about that anymore. And I'm going to just move forward with a confidence and a strength that I deserve.
So liberating. It really is. And I'm glad that you shared your journey is more than just the dancing. It's also more than just the book, right? Because you are an advocate. And so many young women that I know just from the fitness industry, they are concerned about how they look and they never look good enough. And they're constantly beating themselves up. I mean, that's something that I've done my whole life. I'm still doing it today, right now, seeing myself on the screen. But it is liberating to be able to let go of that. And I think based on some of the things that happened recently with the wildfires and then the helicopter and the airplane and then the airplane in Philadelphia, I thought to myself, we are not guaranteed anything. And we spend so much time picking ourselves apart and beating ourselves up that if we could just let go of that, like what you were saying, when you turned 50, you said, you know what, I've had enough of this.
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny because nothing I've ever done, except for the fact that I've gone back to teaching fitness classes and being a personal trainer. And I had left that for years because I didn't like how the fitness industry had become about aesthetics versus mechanics of the body. People always confuse physical appearance with physical fitness, and physical appearance is how my body looks to you. Physical fitness is how it feels to me. And there was a big miscommunication there for a while. And I left and became a body image advocate and have come back to it. But I mean, it's funny because anything I've done, I didn't plan on becoming a body image advocate. I happen to suffer from serious body image issues and eating disorder issues for most of my life, and came out of it and felt that there was a need for change. And so I started speaking out, especially started with my kids' school. I didn't like the message they were getting about health. And I just became very outspoken about it when no one else was. This was before social media. And any of this, my resiliency coaching that I do, also that came out of trauma and, and what I learned. So I didn't plan any of it, but my body image issues started when I was a teenager. And we're talking the 80s, but it goes back decades and decades and decades before that. This is an issue that's been around forever. In some ways, it's gotten better. In some ways, it's gotten worse. It's going to be around. And what you said is so true. And it's so amazing to me. there could be huge things happening in the world. There could be huge things happening in our own personal worlds. And for some reason, we seem to still put how we look above anything else. And it's something that it's been ingrained in us from the time that we were little. So it's a tough thing. It's a really tough thing to get over, but it's something that we have to work on.
Absolutely. Great point. I want to go over and take a look at your book and then dive into that. And also, we have a show called The Corner Bookstore, so I'd love to have you come back on that one as well with Red O'Loughlin. One thing I noticed when I was living in Florida, I moved in November. It's very warm there, and I would see plus size women maybe size 12, 14, on and on, wearing midriff tops and short shorts. And I thought, you know what, God bless them. Like, I wish I had that confidence to dress like that. I absolutely loved it. So cheers and kudos to everybody out there who is embracing themselves and just saying, this is what I've got, and here it is, world. So I want to go over and take a look at your book now. And here we go. So it's available on Amazon. The Good Stripper, a soccer mom's memoir of lies, loss, and lap dances. Tell us a little bit about the cover. I love this.
What's so funny is that originally there was another cover, and it was kind of very artistic. It was like a drawing, and it was a drawing of me as a soccer mom and then me as a dancer, and it was very pretty. But it didn't set the right tone. And actually, one of the bookstores was like, we don't like it. And we didn't have very much time to change it before it was coming out. But this one is just, it really sets the tone, because I was a mom who was living this double life. And it does have the feel of what I was going through.
Thank you so much. I really do enjoy the cover. And especially with the colors too. The color purple to me is always a kind of regal, so maybe it's the message is one way, but then it could also be taken another way.
Exactly.
So a question that I have for you about this specific part of your journey is, you are living a double life in your own words. Was there anything exciting about it? Was there anything that was kind of like wow, I'm sexy, I'm empowered?
Yes. Yes and no. I mean, it was tough. I was married. I had 2 little kids. They knew, no, my kids didn't know. My ex-husband knew. It was this fear of people finding out, and I wasn't sleeping. I would go days without sleeping. It was difficult. And I did it actually from a place of low self-esteem and low self-worth. I went into it. My marriage was in a bad place. Everyone I loved my family had died quite young. I didn't have support, so I felt quite unloved. But I was feeling desired. I was getting attention from men, and so it was my way of feeling like, all right, well, if no one's going to love me, I guess people will want me. And there was that part of me. I was still battling an eating disorder. I was in my 30s, and I started my eating disorder when I was 17. So I was still dealing with that. So getting the accolades and the attention was great for me. And funny enough, ever since I was a little girl, the 2 things I did when I was feeling sad were write. I would write, and I would dance. And there's still things to this day that I do to express myself. And so dancing has always been my thing. And so being on stage, even under the circumstances, did feel somewhat empowering. Now, looking back, was it? I don't know. But that feeling of going up on stage and getting the attention that I was missing in the other parts of my life, there was a power to that. And even the lap dances, there was some power in that. The part I didn't like was the trying to sell myself, the having to get off stage and go over to a table and trying to get someone to buy dances for me. Didn't like that. But dancing and having that feeling like I had some power, yeah, I did like it. There were parts. I mean, I didn't do it that long because it was difficult having children and being in the situation that I was in. But did I enjoy being on stage? I'd be lying if I said I didn't. So yes.
Thank you so much for your honesty on that. I appreciate it. So one more question, just specifically about this particular part of your life. Did you feel that you were paid adequately?
Well, that was up to me. I think Funny enough, as the words are coming out of my mouth, I'm like, what am I going to say? But I feel like if I were doing it now, I would make more money. Not the physical part, but I'm more confident in playing the game. I think I just kind of found myself in that situation. I wasn't really prepared, yeah, I definitely made more money doing that than I could have at a part-time job doing something else while my kids were in school, kind of thing. And I think that's anyone who would shame somebody for working in the sex industry. It's ridiculous because there's supply and demand. First of all, there's a reason why they're still kicking around, and we don't shame anyone else for doing anything else that makes them money. So, this is something that makes women money. So do it. It's for sure. So yeah, I definitely made more money than I would have doing anything else, probably.
Yeah, fascinating. And part of the reason I asked that is I've interviewed 5,600 people, I think many of whom are women, and we don't know our value. We undersell ourselves all the time. And so it doesn't matter what industry you're in, it's still about, am I getting paid for my value? So I think that has a lot to do with self-esteem also, and maybe body image. Do you think there's a correlation between getting paid what we're worth and how we view ourselves?
100%. I think, I started when I was saying I left the fitness industry. I ended up starting a program called Fit versus Fiction. Again, something I didn't plan. And I would go to schools and I would talk with kids and then parents and teachers about the difference between being fit and just looking fit. And we talked about marketing and media manipulation and all of that. And I didn't charge anything for the first long time I did it because I felt I had my experiences having gone through things, but I felt I'm just a mom who'd battled some stuff and I can't really charge. And then even later, I felt uncomfortable charging very much. So I never charged very much. And I would have people say, "You're insane. What do you?" I mean, I would even meet with people one-on-one. I would meet with parents one-on-one. I would meet with kids, and I would never charge. That came from like, I feel bad, like they're going through something. How can I charge? But I have a history of undervaluing myself that way because that we're taught if you don't have a degree or you haven't had this much experience or schooling, then you're only worth a certain amount. And that's ridiculous. I mean, I think experience is worth so much more. But for sure, if you don't feel like you have a lot to offer, then you're not going to charge somebody. And I think there are so many people we've seen that aren't super skilled or don't have very much to offer, but yet they're charging a ton and they're getting it. And it's just what they're putting out. So we have to kind of learn how to, even, especially as women, even if we're not feeling it, to know that that's us. I may not feel super confident, but I have to tell myself, Marci, that's you. You're doing that. You're seeing yourself that way. You need to see yourself the way other people see you and project, even if it's kind of I'm going to project myself as the person that I want to be, even if I don't feel like I'm there yet. Give myself the opportunity to become what I want to be.
Thank you so much for that. And something that comes to mind, and I'd love to just have you brainstorm with me a little bit is, I think we have open hearts and we want to help other people. We do help other people. Where is the line between giving away your services and then charging what your value is? And what I mean by this is you might have someone who doesn't have a lot of money, but they want to hire you. And so, do you give it away for free? Do you just give them a special offer and then the next person you charge them more? How does that work? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, and again, I'm not the best person, the best business mind. I think it's situational. If somebody would come to me, and I remember years and years ago, a dad came to me because his daughter had passed out at school and she wasn't eating, and I'm not charging for that. I can't. But or if when a school would say to me, "We don't have the money," I'm still going to go. But the problem is when people do have the money, and I'm still undervaluing myself. Like that's. So I still can't. I think it depends on the service you're offering. Right? I mean, if somebody's coming to me because they are suffering, that's different from somebody. If it's a service that I offer that's, something that's not quite life altering or put yourself in danger kind of thing. But I think it's situational. And I think, again, what it comes down to is what do I have to offer? What service am I providing? How can I help? And how can I do it in a way that benefits myself and them? Because yes, you can't bleed yourself dry in order to help other people. But that's a tough That's a tough balance.
I like what you shared, though. If you're offering something that could really change someone's life, that it's a necessity as opposed to, oh, this is a nice to have, then maybe that's a different way to look at it. So I want to talk a little bit about something that you mentioned, the word shame. The word shame, because that can completely destroy someone emotionally, physically, lead to other types of dysfunctional behaviors. And yet so many of us have felt shame about something. I know for me, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis in 1999, and it's not a glamorous disease for sure.
Right.
I still have it. And people would say I was dirty and disgusting. They would label me as names. And it's like, I can't help it. It's just the way that it is. But I felt a lot of shame until 2018, when I found the Crohn's Colitis Foundation, realized, you know what, I'm not the only person who has this. Get over yourself, right? But that shame can really do a number on us. How did it impact you and your life, maybe your family?
Well, I mean, that was huge for me, because what I found was this. I had been through a lot of trauma in my life, like a lot of us do. And I was one after another, and I never got a chance to catch my breath. And then through that, I ended up making some not great decisions and finding myself in situations that I never thought I would, and not handling it in the best way. And so what happened was, eventually I found a way to deal with the traumas. So that was one part, right? But because I had behaved or found myself in these situations, doing these things that I never thought I would, once I not got through the trauma, but once I learned how to manage it and deal with it, all right, well, now I have to deal with the damage, how I saw it, the damage that I had done while I was using unhealthy coping mechanisms, because that's what we do, right? Oftentimes we go through stuff, and then I've said this before, instead of going to healthy coping mechanisms, I'm going to drink more water and go hiking and meditate. No, we go to disorders or addictions. We find ways to get away from ourselves, because the mindfulness brings us into ourselves. But when things are too big to handle, we want things that are going to take us away from ourselves. And I got away from myself for a while and did not treat myself very well. And because of that, I ended up not treating other people very well at sometimes. So I had to deal with, okay, so now I've done this damage. I've left this wreckage. Now what am I going to do with that? And that's where the shame was. So I beat myself up for years after I had stopped doing the things that I wasn't proud of. We're talking decades, maybe 2 decades. I carried this guilt and this shame, still married, still a mom, but felt like I was a terrible person deep down. Even though I was doing amazing things as a body image advocate and expert, I still felt, because of stuff I had done in the past, I didn't deserve to be happy. I didn't deserve to be healthy. And that was terrible for me and terrible for people around me. And it took me really being able to forgive myself. Now, there are things I'm still not thrilled about that I did, but I see myself differently. And this is what I think the problem is. I think oftentimes we judge ourselves then by who we are now. So we judge ourselves for the things that we did way back when on the standards that we live by now. And that's not fair, because we didn't know any better then. It's almost like, you're thrown into a room and you're given a test and you don't know the subject matter at all. And you're supposed to write this test and you do poorly on it. 10 years later, you've had time to research it and study it and experience it. And then you write the test again and you ace it. Well, it's not the same, right? So I used to hate the person that I used to be. And now I don't. Now I feel compassion for her, because I know that I did the best I could. I didn't have the experience. I didn't have the resources. I didn't have the support to do any better. Now I would do better. Now I would live my life completely differently. Given the same situations, I would not act the same way. But I only know that now because of the mistakes I made then. But that's what it comes down to. I think we look back and we feel the shame because we're judging ourselves now. We're not the same people. So we need to forgive ourselves for those mistakes and know that we would do differently now.
Brilliant. Is it possible, you use the word mistake, maybe it's just part of the journey that you were meant to take? Is that possible?
Sure. It's like a stumble, right? We stumbled. That was it. We stumbled in the wrong way, and now we got to pick ourselves up and move forward. But how are we supposed to do that? It'd be great if we didn't stumble along the way. It would be great, but life doesn't do that. Life, that's the thing. I mean, I say when I was a teenager, life started sucker punching me, and you're gonna wobble, you're gonna, and you're gonna fall down. I've fallen down so many times, and sometimes I got it quickly, and sometimes I didn't. But that's part of it. And some of us are hit harder than others, and some of us are hit more often. And we can't judge ourselves. We really shouldn't judge other people for the journeys that they took. Just be grateful it wasn't yours, But that's the thing too. We have a big changing point for me also was that I stopped worrying about people judging me for what I had done. I say all the time, the hard part of my story was going through it. I survived that. So now if somebody wants to judge me on how I survived, that's on them. I'm not owning that. I'm not taking that. That's ridiculous. The hard part was going through it, and I did, and I survived it, and I came out stronger. So I used to do that, where I used to, like I said earlier, I used to judge myself on how I survived, whereas now I'm proud of the fact that I survived. And survival isn't always going to be pretty. It'll be messy sometimes, and that's okay, as long as we get to the other side.
Absolutely. And the messiness is where the growth takes place a lot of times, right?
Absolutely.
So you and I are both on social media. I mean, this whole business is social media plus all the other platforms. And I'm seeing a lot of anger out there. I'm seeing, especially right now. And I asked you before the show even started, do you hate us there in Canada? How are you feeling? But so we basically will be judged by a certain number of followers or people who are interacting with us. How do you feel about that and the fact that you are an advocate and on social media, knowing that people could be bashing you or celebrating you?
Oh, they do. I mean, I get bashed often. I get amazing messages from people saying wonderful things, and then I get terrible messages. And sometimes I will clap back by making a fun video about it and kind of making light of it, because the thing with social media is the good thing is it gives everyone a platform to speak their mind, and the bad thing is it gives everyone a platform to speak their mind. And not everybody should. But also a lot of the negativity comes from a place of ignorance and arrogance. I've learned that a lot of people don't even mean what they say. I think it's up to us. I can't control what someone else thinks of me. I can't control what they say, but I can control how I take it in. And I won't take it in. I won't. I mean, there's certain people's opinions about me that I care about. But even if it's somebody I really care about and I care about their opinion, I'm still not going to let somebody else tell me how to live my life or judge my life. I have to live my life in a way that makes sense to me. And as long as I'm not hurting anybody else intentionally, then that's okay with me. But it takes a lot to be able to kind of let other people's opinions go. But we are open to people's comments from around the world. They don't know us. Nobody wakes up in the morning going, what should I wear? What will Marci approve of? What should I do today? So why would I give someone else that power over me? And we do, but I don't, and that's the thing. It's, what do I care what someone else? If you are confident in how you are living and what you're saying and what you're thinking, that's all that matters. Really, truly is what matters.
Definitely. And I know that you're an advocate for helping other people, and I am too. So I just want to share something and have a little chat about it. I remember years ago, I think it was 60 Minutes or Dateline, one of those primetime shows. And I think it was Diane Sawyer. And she followed around with women who were prostitutes. So women who were, in the worst neighborhoods in the country, to women who had master's degrees and were at the Four Seasons. And what was really common, the common theme and thread between all of it was that they hated themselves every day for doing what they were doing. And I'm sure there are women out there who are not hating themselves, maybe at that Rabbit Ranch or wherever it was that I forget what it's called. But my point is this: to do something that you don't feel good about doing, regardless of what it is probably going to come up later with physical issues or emotional issues. But if you really like doing what you're doing, then to your point, no one can judge you for being who you are. but yet we do it every single day. Oh, he's a waiter. Oh, she's a this and there. No, stop doing it. And just a quick digression. I remember I was working in cosmetics at Bloomingdale's while I was getting my doctorate and working my full-time career because I really loved doing makeovers. And this woman came in and she said I was a stupid counter girl. And I thought to myself, stupid, I have a master's and getting a doctorate, but I thought that's about her. So that's why I'm bringing it up. It's about the other person. Can you talk a little bit about that projection that we do?
But that's it. And I think a lot of it comes from fear, you know, and I also think some of it's jealousy, because I think what happens is if somebody sees you living your life in a way that makes you happy, that's different than what they've been told is the right way to do it. It's upsetting to them because they're like, wait a minute, they're not doing what they're supposed to do and they're happy. That's upsetting because what if they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do and they're not happy, right? They like to believe that this is the only way, but here somebody's doing it differently and they're happy. Maybe I'm not, maybe I did have options. But there's a fear because they won't leave what is expected of them. A lot of people spend their whole lives trying to live up to other people's expectations, even at the risk of spending their whole life living for other people and never getting that acceptance. I can tell you that, you know, and going back to your example with the women who are prostitutes, I used to have a podcast and I interviewed a woman who was a career prostitute. She wasn't doing it to put herself through school. This is what she did. And she was very confident with herself. She was very outspoken about the importance of decriminalizing it, very intelligent. And no shame there, you know. And then you have people who work in let's say regular jobs who are miserable at what they do and are only doing it because it's something that was expected of them. And that's a much, much sadder way to live. And I'll tell you, as I said, I just recently got back into the fitness industry and I do personal training and I started teaching some classes. And that, you know, that's not going to make me $1 million as teaching fitness classes, but my God, do I love it. And, you know, when somebody comes over to me, like they did at the grocery store the other day and said, I did your class and it was pure joy. Where's the downside to that? You know, I'm doing what I love and making other people happy. Would I get more respect? Maybe if I owned a gym, maybe, but I don't want that. So it honestly comes down to a fearlessness. You have to be confident enough that you're saying, I got one go around in this world. This is it. And I'm going to do it in a way that is honest and genuine and authentic to me. And if someone else has a problem with it, that's okay. It's okay. I can disappoint people. I'd rather disappoint every other person than disappoint myself again.
I have to applaud you on that. That's spectacular. Thank you. Something I want to look at is from a different perspective. So we've been talking about professions, for example, where people are shamed or blamed, or let's talk about someone who's in corporate America. They've been there for decades and they absolutely despise what they're doing. They hate being there. Their hatred and the negativity just is pervasive throughout the whole company, but yet they stay there because they're doing the right thing. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, that's what I was saying earlier. I find that that's really sad because again, you have one go around depending on your beliefs, I guess, but to spend your life living up to what other people want you to be without questioning, like, what is it that I want to be? And to me, there's no shame in doing something for decades and then saying, you know what? Okay, so I did this professional corporate thing, but I'm really into art. And hey, if you've been in the corporate world and you've made enough money where you can now maybe try something different, best case scenario, you know. But even if you haven't and you're like, okay, I don't want to spend the rest of my life wondering, what if I did that? What if I tried that? What if I nurtured that part of me? How much happier maybe I could have been. What a sad way to go out of the world not knowing what you could have done, who you could have been. And I think that there is so much pressure on people to live up to what's considered like the right thing, or what demands a certain amount of respect. Why should somebody who is living a life, even if they're making a ton of money, but they're not happy, why should that get more respect than somebody who wakes up every morning and is like excited to go to work, who's impacting other people's lives in a positive way, who can go to bed at night feeling that they've accomplished something that makes them happy. We put the importance on the wrong, we know that, on the wrong things in our society. It's all about image. It's all about image, whether it's aesthetics and how we look or what we own. That's where we put the importance. That's what social media is. I mean, really, it's all about the image that we put out, which is such a shame because we're missing the substance. And it's the substance of a person that counts.
Another great tagline. I love it. So you can help people. Who can you help and how do you do it?
Ooh, well, that depends what, that's the thing. You know, what's so funny is it's like I said, none of the stuff that I did came out of a plan. It's all because of stuff I went through. So the body image stuff came from my living with a severe eating disorder for most of my life and going into recovery and what I learned from that and how I still, to this day, thank God I've got great recovery, but I'll know when the world gets scary, I tend to look inward and all of a sudden I'm questioning how I look and I stop myself and go, no, that's because the world is scary. So that's what you're doing. So I've learned how to help people with issues because of what I went through. And then with the resiliency coaching, that came out of my book. And I would have people messaging me saying, okay, you gave up, you were able to release that shame. How? Or you're so honest. I get that a lot because in my book, I'm very honest. And I'm like, how are you so honest? I can't do that yet, but how can I? And it just came out of stuff that I've experienced. So, I mean, I will hear from all genders, all ages. Like, it's amazing to me how I always say that the details of my story are different. The details of my story are unique, but the themes are universal. Loss and relationships and confidence issues and parenting and addiction and so many of us are relating to those themes. I mean, it's just a part of life. So different people will come to me with so many different things that they need help with. And it makes me laugh that even when I was little and I had already been through a lot. I had friends going, okay, I know that whatever I go through, I can come to you because you probably experienced it. So I have to think, okay, well, maybe this was it. I'm not someone who believes there's a reason for everything. But if I was, I'd say maybe I've been through so much because when someone comes to me with something, there's an understanding there that I've learned through experiencing it myself.
And thank you for sharing that. I have a lot of respect for you for doing everything that you did and being able to look at yourself and not beat yourself up and embrace yourself and help other people, because we all make choices at some point that maybe we're thinking later in life, well, that wasn't the best one. And how do we come to that judgment, by the way? Because that is a judgment. Did we get injured physically or emotionally, or is it because of what other people said about what we were doing? I think that's also another big topic for another day. But I want to go back to your book because we're coming to the end of the show, which I can't believe flew by so fast. So your book is available on Amazon. And who is a good reader for this book? Who would you recommend if somebody said, this is for everybody? By the way, my copy's coming Thursday. I just got an email. Yay.
Oh, yay. Well, you know what's so funny too, because a lot of people will assume because it's a woman's, I'm writing from my perspective that it's for women only. But I've had so many men contact me because with issues that they were dealing with again, a confidence thing or with sexual issues or with relationship issues or addiction issues. So it really surprisingly, that's why it's funny. Like, don't let the title deceive you. There's something really for everyone. So it's, I had a few men tell me that their daughters read it, their daughters in their 20s, and then they made their dads read it. Like it always surprises me who reads it and who can, identify with it. So I don't think that there's a target audience.
All right, it's the book for everyone. It is The Good Stripper, a soccer mom's memoir of lies, loss, and lap dances. Let's share how people can reach you on social media. You're on Facebook and you're on Instagram. Let's take a look at your account. So it is your name for people listening on the audio-only platforms. It's MARCIWARHAFT. What would you like to share about your Instagram?
Oh, there's going to find a little bit of everything, but I am very easy to connect with through social media. That is the way that people contact me the most. And you'll see if you visit me on on socials, you'll see that I am as ridiculous in real life as I am on social media, and it's a little bit of everything. And I am, by sharing my story in the way that I did, that was so open, so open. It's giving me the freedom to be exactly who I want to be on any day that I'm feeling whatever I'm feeling. So it's you'll learn a lot about me. I always say, especially if you read my book, I'm always like, well, you're going to learn a lot about me. And it's the same with social media.
And it looks very inspiring, just some of the posts that I'm seeing here. And we're following you on USA Global TV and Radio, and also Dr. Jacalyn. So thank you so much for that. Final words of wisdom to leave with the audience today. What would you like to share?
Don't let fear keep you from being exactly who you want to be. Don't let the fear of other people's expectations keep you from being who you're supposed to be in this life.
It's an absolute pleasure. And by the way, I just want to share with the audience, because we don't have a script, as I mentioned, but Marci and I just connected on social media. We were connected before, but I reached out to her. I was like, wow, I don't know how we got connected. I think it was Clubhouse, but I'd love to interview you, and bingo, here we are. So for all of you haters of social media out there, I've met so many cool people through social media, and it's about reaching out and connecting and finding great ways to collaborate. So Marci, I know this won't be the last time that I see you. We'll do something together in the future. And I want to thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much. This was fantastic. Thank you.
I look forward to getting the book and interviewing you on the Corner Bookstore about that. So
absolutely.
All right. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you to each and every one of you out there who are watching or listening. Please do connect with Marci over on Facebook or Instagram. The show notes have the links. You just have to click on them and bingo, you'll be connected, and you never know where it's going to go. But what I can tell you is if you don't take the opportunities, if you don't walk through the door, you never will know what you missed. So that's what we're all about here, is collaborations, and we love to have people come and share their stories. So our next show is coming right up. I think we have 9 shows today, which is terrific. If you'd like to be a guest on any of our shows, please go over to USA.com, USAGlobalTV.com. Hello, book your session, and you'll be able to find out more there. All right, we're going to leave with a short message. If you're interested in having your own TV show here, whether you produce your own content or you want us to produce it for you, we'd be very happy to do that. Take a look.
Ever dreamed of hosting your own TV show, sharing your story with a global audience? Now's your chance to shine. At USA Global TV and Radio, we make it easy for you to create, host, and broadcast your very own TV show. Whether you're a storyteller, entrepreneur, or industry expert, we help you bring your vision to life. With our exclusive interview, live streaming, and podcasting training, you'll gain the skills and confidence to captivate your audience. Our global platform ensures your voice is heard worldwide. Join our community of creators who are already making an impact, one show at a time. Step into the spotlight. Host your own TV show on USA Global TV and Radio. Book your discovery call today at usaglobaltv.com. Copyright 2025, USA Global TV and Radio. All rights reserved. Terms and conditions apply. To learn more, visit usaglobaltv.com. In a world full of noise, misunderstandings, and interruptions, master the art of listening with Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck is the listening mentor of USA Global TV and Radio and the Amazon #1 best-selling author of Mastering the Power of Elevated Listening. Elevate your listening. Elevate your life. Join a global learning experience in person or via Zoom. Reserve your spot today. usaglobaltv.com/book-your-session or drjacalyn.thinkific.com. Join Dr. Kerbeck's listening courses or hire her to unlock deeper connections and authentic conversations.
face daily cyber risks, spending over 7 hours of screen time, including 4.5 hours on mobile phones. This convenience comes with significant dangers, with cybercrime costs predicted to exceed $10.5 trillion by 2025. In 2023 alone, seniors lost over $3.4 billion to cybercrime. Our goal is to make social engineering concepts of cybersecurity easier to understand. We work with business teams, senior living facilities, investment companies, and educational institutions, both individually and in groups. We offer real-life examples to help you recognize and prevent attacks, with sessions available both in person, in selected regions, and remotely. Schedule your training session, or to learn more, contact us today. Call us at 847-845-9360. Email us at info@cybersecurityeasy.com. Protect your team and family with cybersecurityeasy.com.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dies. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.